back. Bienvenidos to the Prem Pals podcast. I'm your host, Nickel, and this is my co-host and a man who's been tingling in the nether regions since yesterday, Sean.
Hello. Yes, indeed. We will definitely dive into how exciting that whole scenario was. But let's talk a little bit why we're here and what this is about first, huh? I think we talked about how when Alex and I met and why we decided to do this after many eons, moons, a lot of just friendly banter going back and forth. But we also discovered that we do have some really good statistics, and the way that we analyzed the game was enough to try and put it on the air, have other people give us their opinions on our opinions. It's kind of like
we
social
got
media.
Two different teams that we like. This is a Tottenham and Manchester United focused podcast, but we have some similar views about some teams that we mutually have hatred for. So we've bonded in that regard. So yeah, week 3 Premier League was extremely interesting. I think that the crown jewel in terms of the best game of the weekend was Man United 2, Liverpool 1. I want to start this off before I get your take on the game, Sean. Jurgen Klopp had a quote after the game. Here's his quote verbatim.
Dear God.
We should have won this game. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that is how I saw it. Is that how you saw it?
I mean, he literally said one time that the pitch was too dry. He's got excuses, and don't get me wrong, a lot of managers will come out and trying to find a reason to put a little sprinkle on top of a bad day, because we all know what Liverpool are capable of. But this game, to me, it's just like Viagra. I mean, I am not in need of it, but if I ever need that blue pill to go, I'm going to hold it off for a rainy day. I've already been dishing it out to my Liverpool buddy down south. I asked him a question earlier. I was like, "Hey, buddy, why'd you guys send Milner back to Leeds?" And he was like, question mark. And I was like, oh wait, that was Sancho. Bam, ankles was snapped. Van Dijk had a front row seat to a delicious goal, hence the jersey today. I have last year's away kit, Sancho on the back, in celebration of that delicious goal. I mean, you can watch it back as many times as you want. Don't put it in slow-mo because it was that slow anyway. Like, he was just gliding in there.
His composure, like, I mean, for as young as he is, he's not that young, but I mean, he looked composed. You guys looked sharp right out the bat. I mean, Alonga should have scored that first opportunity to hit the post, but I mean, there's nothing in the world I love to see more than Liverpool lose after, the last few years of dealing with them. And I mean, it was wholeheartedly deserved. When I heard that quote, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, come on. United dominated that game.
Yeah, but that is Klopp, though. What I have wanted, because there was a time when United wanted him pretty badly, and he said no really quick. He said no really quickly, which obviously went on to do great things for Liverpool. And I get where he's coming from. If you're having a bad run and you're in a bad form, like, if that's the least of what you can say, you're not blaming on the sprinklers or the drive there or the protests at the beginning. To me, that's just tongue in cheek. And I think that he did that and in his own way. That's kind of, you've seen how when he jokes, sometimes it doesn't translate as well, even though he's kind of a funny. So I think that was kind of him, trying to be a little bit funny. Like, that's how I saw it. And also, I mean, I think that's given it to his players a little bit, because they know how they performed. You saw Milner, you saw them yelling at each other, which watching a team like that crumble in the back, it's a beautiful thing. And I think it comes down to passion. And I think it came down to just the way that we approached it with more intensity, more energy. The energy level was huge. We've seen other teams, the 2 games that we lost before this were due to the exact same thing. They came out with a purpose. Brentford and Brighton came out with a purpose. They came out with energy. They were winning every ball, which was massive for us. We were putting our front foot forward, for every ball, every 50-50 ball. That was key to
Yeah.
winning this game.
No, you called it last week when you said, if you see Ten Hag put out a side where we're looking to defend, we're fucked. But if we're on the front foot and we're attacking and we're getting at them, I think there's a chance. And I think Liverpool came into this game laughing at United, saying, "Ha, you guys are the worst team in the league. Watch what we can do." And I think there was a bit of sense of, false optimism. And, Van Dijk isn't, I don't know what happened to him, man. I don't know if he's just over it. He's won everything and he's just getting older. But I mean, he's a shade of his former self. And watching, I mean, Milner, man. I mean, he's a hard player not to like. Like, he's just a workhorse. He likes to get in people's faces. I mean, I loved watching him scream at Van Dijk, and Van Dijk just kind of blowing it off, didn't know what to say. But I mean, I'm also really enjoying seeing resurgence of some of these English players. I mean, both of us are hoping to see England win the World Cup, and seeing Sancho and Rashford play well was outstanding. And I know you made a comment last week that maybe Rashford should be dropped. Do you feel differently now? Has he earned his way back and into your heart?
He's been one of my favorite players from the time he was wearing number 39 when he first came onto the pitch. I remember being at the pub and being like, this is a kid that's going to make it. It's not even like when we seen Alanga and them. There was just a different type of magic. It wasn't really necessary strength, but he had that will to be like, I'm gonna score, I'm gonna make my mark. I think he's been in a rough spot. I think he definitely had a really good game in the sense of being in the right place, but he was also playing up top in a position that everyone has been like, he can't do that. He's a winger. He can't play up top. It's not going to work out. And, maybe that was a secret weapon that Ten Hag was on the training pitch being like, we're going to play you up front. And so when we're practicing, we want you to just concentrate on those runs, look for the lanes, look for the space, and it paid off. Do I think that he should be a starter over anybody else? Well, what are our options right now? And
Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, who starts next game? Like,
yes, up top, but I'm saying like wing wise, like if Ronaldo starts, does he go starting back on the left? And, obviously he's over Alanga, and with this goal, it does give you that inch. But do I think he should be starting? For me, I would say Ronaldo up top, Martial on the left, Sancho on the right. Beautiful. Like,
interesting. But I mean, you guys just beat Liverpool. I mean, do you really want to shake it up that much? I mean, let's talk about dropping Ronaldo. I mean, I know you love Ronaldo, and I understand why. However, I do think that he divides opinion right now, just in terms of attitude. It seems like maybe he's pushing for a move. Maybe he's not. Maybe it's all bullshit press. Who knows? But you didn't play Ronaldo until a late sub, and you beat Liverpool. So, I mean, do you really want to just bring him in and start him next game? I mean, what do you think's best? Do you think bring him in? He's Ronaldo.
I think Southampton's a good time to bring him back into the starting lineup. If anything, to put him in the shop window. I hate saying it. Had a little bit stuff come up in my throat right there because it makes me sick. But if he wants to leave, and he does deserve to go and do what he needs to do, as I said. But having one of the best players to ever do it, you can't just not play him for as long as you've got him. If he's leaving in a week, if he's leaving in a month, you start him. You start him. Did it work? The lineup work? Yes, of course. And it's like you said, shake it up, of course, because Southampton have already started studying that tape, and they're like, if they're gonna pull an Ollie and start putting out this same 11, even just to start, we're gonna eat them up. We're gonna sit back and counter because they're gonna be playing a high line, and we're just gonna eat them up. And Alanga, as much as I love him, you get him running back and forth on the pitch, exhausted. He'll give up that position. So yeah, I think you go in with a new front three besides Sancho, and then and shake up the midfield. Obviously, we're gonna have Casemiro. I'm so excited, which that will lead right into that, I guess. Great to see.
I mean, it's funny because I was playing soccer with my soccer group here in Mexico City, and there's a United fan. And it was rumored Casemiro was coming, and he was like, it's the dumbest rumor. There's no way. We're just going to pull the best central defensive midfielder in the world out of the bag at the end of the window. And boom, he's a United player. I mean, I was surprised, to be honest. I mean, he's saying he's not doing it for the money. He's saying he's doing it for a challenge. I get it. I mean, he's won everything at Real Madrid. He's 30 years old. I mean, he's saying the right things, saying Man United's the best club and biggest club in England and all this. I mean, you couldn't have signed a better. I mean, this is the signing that you guys have been waiting for literally since I think Michael Carrick or Matic left. I mean, how elated were you when you heard this? I mean, how is this going to change the team?
I mean, it's like you said, he's looking for a challenge. Well, I mean, imagine having
he's got a challenge.
Harry Maguire as your captain. There's no bigger challenge than that. A guy whose CV doesn't even like lick your CV's boots. I mean, it's just not. It is what it is. I'm not going to give Maguire that much guff, and I think that it is a challenge, and I really think it's also about what Ten Hag approached him with, the project, and he could have gone pretty much anywhere. And people are kind of like talking about the age, since he is the second highest purchased over 30-year-old player in English Premier. And to me, that shouldn't matter. I mean, look at Liverpool when they picked
you need it. You need that signing so much.
Look at Chelsea with the center back. You've seen how well they integrate, actually, and you need somebody with that class, that form, that winning mentality first of all. And since we'll have three players that did it all together, Cristiano, Varane, Casemiro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, that a Classico right there. So for me, I am elated. I don't think it's going to fix everything, because we've been struggling so hard to figure out how that position is going to work. Our players in the midfield are going to be like, wait, can I really go? Can I really play as a box to box player? And on top of that, I'll say this right now. I'm not a massive fan of Fred. I just don't think his quality and everything is good enough. But if you have a player like Casemiro behind you and you unleash this Brazilian Fred that everyone's talking about, oh, he's playing out of position. Dude, we've given him a chance in every position. It was the same thing with Pogba. We let them roam. It's just a different scenario. It's physically different.
But how do you set that up? Like, I'm really curious as to how you think they set up that midfield three, because I believe when you beat Liverpool, it was McTominay, it was Eriksen sort of playing between, and then Fernandez up front. I mean, how do you envision this new setup? Is it just McTominay and Casemiro switch? And so we're going to be looking at Fernandez, Eriksen, because even Eriksen playing that deep, I don't think it's his best role. I almost think he'd be better rotating with Fernandez. But I mean, what do you think? What is the best three for your midfield?
I think that is a good scenario, what you just said. But also that's why I was bringing up Fred, is because I do think that Fred, until we get someone like Frankie de Jong in there, that Fred will probably flourish in that system. But then again, now you put 5 players lining up that can play that role, because everyone's like, just let him play box to box. So then we'll have McTominay, Fred, Eriksen, Donny van der Beek. Like, we have all those players now just waiting. But hopefully Van der Beek will be able to give Bruno some rest from time to time, because I just don't see him playing well in that role. I think that if we put him up front a little bit, he'll take a little bit of pressure off.
He's kind of the odd man out, to be honest.
And that's the thing, is it's like I don't see him. But obviously Eriksen has earned his place. He's fantastic for us on Saturday.
So let's talk a little bit about Bruno Fernandez. He is, from an outside looking in. I mean, we talked about this last week with Cudi Romero, right? There are players that when they're in your squad, you love them. They do cheeky bullshit. You don't care because they're your boy. They're in your team. But the outsiders looking in, it's just, come on, man. That the dive from Fernandez was shameless. One of the worst dives I've ever seen. And then the antics after the goal. I mean, I get it. You have every right to take the ball out of your own net. And it was Fernandez's, opportunity to take it. But then he pretends he gets hit in the eye and rolls around. I mean, I don't know, man. I was almost like, give this guy a second yellow. Like, this type of antics is just, I hate watching it. He's a good player, but I don't know. I find him pathetic, even though he's a good player. I mean, I'm sure you feel differently, but as a United fan, I mean, what did you think of that? Because I mean, it was a bit over the top, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's not playing well enough to where you can let that slide, even as a Manchester United fan. Uh, I do really enjoy him. I think that he does. I mean, obviously his first season with us, he was just putting him away, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's still getting a lot of penalties, and you're defending him." And of course we were. We're just trying to get points, and we did end. I think second that season, but it wasn't due to pandemic had hit and all sorts of stuff. It's just there's a lot going in there, but for me, I can't forgive his antics either. There's a lot of the times where he's flailing around. He always looks up at the ref with that same, just like, oh my, I can't believe you didn't give me the foul, that, or you didn't give that guy a red card, or he almost broke my entire body. That's the look that he gives the ref, and you're just like, dude, you're wasting. Like, get up, play the ball, like go into the whistle. Like, they've already told you that they're going to let play go on a lot more this season, and we've been seeing it in games. Like, there's been more entanglements where they're just like, play on, let's go. No one has the advantage here. It's not a serious foul. Let's just keep the ball moving. And I do like that. And of course, you don't like it when it's happening against you. But yeah, with Bruno, it just gets to be a little too much. And every time he throws his hands up, I throw my hands up because I'm just like, stop acting like that. Like, what are you doing, man? And then, of course, he's holding on to the ball, and then he acts like he's got his eye poked out. It's just like, you're embarrassed for him, and we're hundreds, thousands of miles away from him. Is what I feel like. You're watching on TV, and you're like, oh God, this is so cringeworthy. Like, does he not watch that and is like, oh my God, I look ridiculous?
Yeah, I mean, he must have no shame, but I mean, if he hits form, he's a tremendous player. So, I mean, I get it. I mean, Eric Lamela was sort of like that for us, and he became a cult hero for that reason. I mean, I think it was when we played you one time. He completely faked getting or got like touched in the face and went down for a penalty kick. I mean, it's when you get the penalty kick and the goal for it and you win the game, you don't care, So I mean, I get it, but I think I'm on the same page as you. If he plays well enough, then you'll put up with it. But when he's playing mediocre like he is now, it's like, come on, bro.
Yeah, and if you don't get the penalty and you laugh at your own self getting a card, it's humiliating. He was laughing about it because he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I tried to get away with one. I got it. It's like, dude, like you're making the whole team like, come on, just we're in a good spot right now mentally. The last thing we need is to go down to 10 men. Because in my head, if that would have been the other team, I would have been like, that should be your second yellow card and you should be out of the game.
I mean, the own goal that he almost scored. Thank goodness for you guys that Alessandro Martinez was on the goal line there. But holy shit. Let's talk about that back line quickly. So, I mean, I think dropping Maguire was something a lot of people saw coming. You've signed a new center back, Rafael Varane, OG legend of Real Madrid. I'm surprised he hasn't played more, to be honest, for you. I think you've got a pairing now, right? I mean, are you seeing Martinez and Varane as the future and rest of the season, or do you think Maguire finds a spot back in there? I mean, what's the future of the Man United back line?
Yeah, I really, I'm with you on the Varane thing. He's subjected to some injuries when he first came on, and trying to get acclimated to the squad while dealing with injuries just really doesn't make you look that great. But everyone knew his quality, and
Sure.
with the back line that we were dealing with, it's like I'd rather have an injury prone Varane back there than Maguire and Lindelof pairing, where it's just kind of like that, there's a mistake in it. I think that Alessandro Martinez had an amazing game. He was all over the place. His nickname is the Butcher. I think that he was spectacular. The thing that I worry about is what United fans and most fans will do is that they'll immediately be like, this is our solution. This is it. We're fixed. Everything is fine. And then he has another bad game. And where do we go from there? It's like, oh, we needed another center back. He was too short, or, because Brentford, the half that he had, he was getting turned around a little bit, and they were, targeting him a little bit. So if he gets found out or targeted in any way, then, it puts a lot of pressure because he does go really hard to the ball. So, there could be an injury in there. And what happens if there's an injury? We go right back to like, I can't even think about it because it just hurts
No,
to
but
know that.
I think Maguire could be a rotation defender for you guys, and I think there's a lot of physical strikers in the league, from like Mitrovic. You've got Ivan Toney. I'd put Harry Kane in that bracket. Darwin Núñez is a big kid. Obviously Holland is a monster. When you're playing those types of teams that are going to be crossing the ball in a lot, like Tottenham, Alessandro Martinez might get beat, right? So there might be specific opponents. There might be specific times in the game where Maguire, he's not a great defender, but he's incredible in the air. He always has been. He's a good physical defender. He's good at defending corners. I don't think he's a bad rotational defender to have in your quiver. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just seeing those two together, I'd imagine it was a breath of fresh air because,
Oh my
Maguire's
gosh.
just gotten so much shit.
Well, that's why we can place a higher line, is when you have that confidence in the back, and and they were also getting a lot of help though too. It's what takes me back to that point of the high energy and the fact that everybody was fighting for every ball. So if it was in your general area, you were asking if body language, if someone needed help, or you were showing that you needed help, or people were pointing like, get that space, I'm gonna take the man, get that. There was a lot excuse me, there was a lot going on to where it wasn't just those two coming out and putting on the most amazing performance. It was a collaboration of a squad being like, let's play as a team, so then certain players can highlight and not feel the pressure of one or two people downing tools because we're pouting because we're not starting every match. So it was fun to see that. And I do think that Luke Shaw has a question mark over his name. And Maguire, I think Ten Hag, he came out right afterwards and said that he's still very much part of the plans and that he will find his spots in the games. I wonder what this does to I saw on like Sky Sports, they were chatting about their England positions, if they will be jeopardized because of this. Luke Shaw, most definitely, I think, will be hindered. I don't see him getting picked for the Nations Cup or the World Cup at this point, which is, it's sad, but it is what it is. There's other players out there that are hungry and that are proving themselves, so Maguire, I don't think Maguire's is as easily dropped though, because he does play really well for England, and the pairing there is very much, something he enjoys. Now, do I think that it'll jeopardize or expose that he's a little bit slower and have other players from other leagues noticing that? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a back three might suit Maguire better, and England has played in a back three. So, I mean, I don't think Maguire should be dropped from the England squad in terms of he should go to the World Cup. He has a function, like I mentioned before, like depending on the team you're playing. And I think, there might be moments where he pairs well with Martinez or he pairs well with Varane. I also think Casemiro, he's going to change things. You're finally going to have a capable defensive midfielder to protect your back line. So, I mean, as much as we want to give shit to Maguire, you guys have been exposed for ages. McTominay is not the guy that you want as your first line of defense in front of your back line. So, I mean, it's almost unfair to Maguire in some ways. Yeah. I mean, to answer your question, yes, his speed is definitely an issue. But I mean, to make a comparison, Eric Dyer is also a relatively slow player, and he looked pretty damn bad in a back four to the point where a lot of us were calling for him to be sold. Now he's a nailed on starter, and he's incredible in a back three because he's got two quick defenders beside him. So we'll see where it is. I think Maguire gets more shit than he deserves, to be honest. I think his price tag that year was way overinflated. He wasn't worth that. Everyone knows that, but that's not his fault. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. As good as United was, let's just lastly mention what's wrong with Liverpool.
I mean, we've seen what they can do, and we know that they'll bounce back. They did. We have to acknowledge that they definitely had a lot of injury big players, which played right into our hands. Thank gosh. I do believe though it was kind of a graveyard shift for up front. Salah got that goal because it bounced right up into his head pretty much, even though he's an amazing player, not to take any credit from away from him, because you do have to put yourself in that the right position, right? But I do see them coming back. I'm sure they'll be in top four, top six, if not top four, uh, simply based on they still have that winning mentality and they still have that coach. And yeah, I don't think it has a lot to do with Klopp. I think that it just has to do with the rearranging, of the team and how badly they miss Sane, like how much the
Mane, yeah.
player, I mean Mane, yeah. And it's funny to see. I thought that uh Firmino was gonna play a really big role in that, because he does really well against us and figures us out, and he does really well about holding the ball, and we get all panicky right there. And so the goal that like Sancho scored against them normally is the goal they score against us, because Firmino will be right there like holding it and spitting, and then just dish off a little pass and then goal. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything. I mean, I want to just say sinking ship. Oh, they're done, dusted, has been club. But I think that they'll bounce back.
Yeah, I agree. Of course they're going to bounce back. They could even be title contenders, who knows? But I do think that
Ah,
you guys exposed something here, right?
yeah.
Like they have, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are arguably the best offensive playing fullbacks in terms of the balls they put in terms of, their key contributions to the offense. But they were exposed, man. You guys were just burning. I mean, United had some serious speed in Alanga and Rashford and Sancho, but once you get behind them, they're
Oh yeah.
toasted.
Oh
So,
yeah.
I would love the notion that Liverpool is slowly getting figured out, and that, these incredibly forward playing fullbacks are a liability. But again, it's Klopp. They've got the talent. They're going to come back, but it was lovely to see them lose.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, so enough on that. Let's talk a little bit about a
Yeah.
Spurs versus Wolves 1-0. Tottenham quietly getting the business done. We've got 7 points. Last year, we've had 3 fixtures: Southampton, Chelsea, Wolves. We lost all 3 of those fixtures last year. These are 3 bogey teams for us. The fact that we've got 7 points out of 3 games is pretty positive. Now, this game was boring, to be honest. The first half
Yes.
was horrendous. Like, we looked bad. Wolves looked the better team. Conte, it was a tale of two halves, said something at halftime, and we came out with aggression in the second half. We still didn't look amazing, but we got the job done. So, what do you think after seeing 3 weeks of Tottenham kind of pulling these not glamorous but decent results? I mean, do you see us as a threat? Do you think I guess I'm curious as to a outside Spurs perspective of what you think of Spurs so far this year.
First off, I think some of the best teams to ever do it grinded out results. I mean, speaking from experience, not me personally, but obviously from being a Manchester United fan, it's you know you grind out. So people remember the end results, and not a lot of people go back and see those years that United did so well. They just think it was all this, they won every game, and then they won Champions League and Premier League, and they won every game every season. No, there was a lot, we lost to a lot of subpar teams, but we also won a lot of games that were like 1-0 or 3-2, like even losing and coming back. I think that, so you can't take shame or base the quality of the squad on grinding out a result, because that is one of the best ways to be, is to win when you're playing badly. Like most managers will say that the minute they show up into a locker room, that's what we need to do in this next half or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more flair, I guess. I would think, with the signings and what we talked about last week. Not to cover old ground. It's just I just really thought that, and Conte, I mean, he'll get another transfer window. He's got January, and he's making great signings. So, if he sticks around, give him 1 or 2, then I think we'll be able to be like, okay, they did it really right from the get go. I mean, I thought that they were gonna do really well that first season. Now look at them, they're flying. Or, he gets bored and leaves, which you don't want to happen, but he would leave the club in a really good spot, and so for
Yeah.
me,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm not really too worried about him leaving. Like, I had this debate with an Arsenal friend recently that was kind of talking shit. Like, don't you wish that, you got off to the start that we did? And while I'm not going to fault that Arsenal looks, the best team in the league after 3 weeks, which isn't saying a lot. Last year, Tottenham won their first 3 games, including Man City, and Nuno Espirito Santo was the manager of the month, and then he's sacked 2 months later, right? I do think it's easy to get carried away with early results and some flair in the new signings, whereas I think we're building something. I mean, we're seeing issues, we're fixing them, and we're still winning, and we're slowly betting in new signings. I'm actually really quietly confident where we are, especially looking at City, faltering, Liverpool faltering, Chelsea getting thrashed. I mean, I actually think we're kind of quietly, secretly in a really, really nice place, and we're grinding results out against teams that caused us problems. So I think we're a very hard team to play. We're physical. We've got a great manager. I was actually really happy with this game, but I understand from a neutral perspective, it was not the most exciting match in the world. So
yeah. And it doesn't have to be exciting, like I said. I mean, even when I played all the way in through college, it was kind of like you walk away from hard fought battles on the pitch that people watching don't understand.
yeah,
You getting over on someone that is your man marker or something like that's had you in their pocket all day, and you do a simple little, up the wing pass, or two touch, and you're away. Those individual victories on the pitch, they help build confidence. So when you do go into the next match, you go out and devastate your opponent. So it's like I said, you sometimes you grind it out and it's not pretty, but it doesn't really take away from the quality of the squad. And if that's an off day, take it. You
yeah,
still win.
absolutely.
It's when you guys did Spence get a shot on the pitch yet?
No, Suspense has not even made the bench yet. And,
Okay.
I think he's going to take some time to bed in. I mean, to be honest, that's our weakest position on the pitch. Emerson Royale, love the guy, great personality. He's a good right back. He's more defensive.
Yeah.
He's not a great wing back. However, on the other side, I would argue best fullback in the league. I don't know. I mean, Ivan Perisic is 32, 33 years old. He runs around like a teenager. He's quick. He's strong. He just looks like he's one level above everyone else. Like, he sees things ahead of time. He can take corners with his right and left. I mean, he's a complete player. Now, we've got a year out of him maybe, and he's not going to be the guy to play 90 minutes, but he's won everything. He was by far the best player for that game for us. He was man of the match. And I mean, his flick for our goal was just so intelligent, just a corner to the front post, flicks it back. I mean, he's got such good football IQ on top of his physical abilities. I'm extremely excited about him. Cudi Romero's injured, so we had Davinson Sanchez play. He was a decent debutant going in there. Our back line was pretty solid. I would say Wolves, they attack well. They're quick. Guys like Neves, I mean, these are guys who can shoot outside the box. They're a constant threat, and we defended really well. Son has been off. To be honest, I could see Son being dropped next match. He's kind of in our worst player.
That was going to be my next question, actually. What's going on with your boy?
Yeah, I mean, Son's streaky. He just is. Like, he'll hit a streak of 3 games where he's not very good, and then he'll hit a streak of 3 games where he's one of the best forwards in the league. We never had the depth of squad to put anyone else in before. So it was just place on if he's good or place on if he's bad. Now with Richarlison coming on, Richarlison was outstanding when he came on. I mean, he is quick. I love him already. He's very, very, he's attacking all the time. He's looking to get the ball and drive, get the ball and drive, get the ball and drive. Sort of like Son, but a bit more physical. I could see Son being dropped for Richarlison next game because Richarlison played that well and Son played that poorly. I don't know if I agree with that. I think Son's played long enough with us to maybe give him one more game. But if he can't pull it against Nottingham Forest, let's give him a rest for a couple games. But, Son's been off. Kane, he didn't look good at all. But then, of course, he scores the winning goal. That's Harry Kane. I mean, he's now the highest scoring player for one club of all time. He's going to smash every record.
I thought he was tied. No?
Maybe he's tied or he's won over, but he's going to smash every single record in the Premier League, period. And in a way that isn't flashy, in a way that isn't like other people have done it, but he just gets the job done. He scores even when he plays shitty.
Yeah. You like Richarlison just because you guys have the same colored hair. That's all.
Exactly.
I mean, you guys look alike. I mean, he looks like a mixture of you and Whitney Houston. So you guys probably are related somehow.
If me and Whitney Houston had a kid, she would probably
be Richarlison.
It would be Richarlison. That's actually interesting.
It would. Very strong-headed. See what I did there?
I think there are apps that like you can put two people's faces together and it shows you their kid. I bet you it would be
face swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like him though. I know you don't like the guy, but I like him a lot.
I mean, I don't mind him. I just don't think he's done enough. I mean, he was Everton's leading scorer on a really crappy Everton squad, I mean, whatever happened to Louis Calvert-Lewin? The other striker?
Yeah, I mean, he's still there, but he
fell off. Like, what is going on with them? They are just in dire straits right now.
They're getting relegated.
We don't have enough time on this podcast to talk about all the issues they're having, but Lampard, come on, bro. Like, Slippy G, bro. That's the route you're going down. It's kind of like
he'll never make it throughout the season.
Yeah, like him and Gerrard, they're both like, two midfielders that people said were some of the best to do it. They're going the ollie route and not doing so well when it comes to coaching.
Yeah, let's get into some of the other results. Two last things on Tottenham. I got two questions for you. So one is Højbjerg. What do you think?
Not good enough. I told you.
Straight up, even after that last game?
Yeah, I mean, he's putting in a shift, and the commentators are talking about how amazing he's just there. Did you hear them? Like in the first half, they're like, he hasn't put a foot wrong. He is absolutely, one of the best that they have. And I've heard the same things about Fred. Like I've definitely, and from the fans too. They're just like, oh, when he's in his position, he's just, he's amazing. His work rate, his tenacity.
Who are Real Madrid lining up as a replacement for Casemiro?
I mean, really?
Yeah, that's the rumor. And we would never sell him, but like, look, I'm a Højbjerg.
You would sell him. You guys are looking at Dan James right now. You 100% would sell Højbjerg.
No, I would not. He's quintessential to our team. He is the guy that you don't notice how good he is. Like he's not.
I know exactly. I noticed.
He makes. Yeah, well, fair enough. And there's a lot of Tottenham fans who are saying drop him for Basuma. But I mean, he is all over the pitch, man. And he's yelling at everyone. Like he is a cog in our machine he's like a Henderson. Like Henderson's not that good of a footballer, but he was quintessential to Liverpool. Højbjerg is that guy for us right now. And yes, eventually we should replace him. But like, I think it's insane that he shouldn't even be dropped. We're winning games with him. He's all over the pitch. He's good defensively. He's good offensively. He brings the ball up. He doesn't look like a good footballer. Sometimes you look at him and you're like, how the hell is this guy like a Premier League footballer? But he's essential to our system. So I love the guy, but I get it when people are like, what the fuck is Højbjerg all about?
He's just like saying his name though. Højbjerg. Like he does sound more like a hockey player than he does a football player. But no, I get it, and I think that competition is key. In the squad, like we saw what it did for Luke Shaw with us, and I hate to go back to, but I like the comparison is similar. Luke Shaw came out and was guns were firing, and that's when he had that season with. In the Euros and everything you need that healthy competition. And so having someone like Basuma as the second, like obviously you're going to start playing really well, knowing that like there's someone waiting in the wings. Literally. To take your spot. And not even take your spot. He seems like the type of guy that I'd be upset about it, but if
No,
you
he'd
wrote
still fight for his place.
yeah, and if you rotated them, like there's going to be games just like you said where bringing in Maguire defensively, or you need someone stronger to the ball, and Basuma will be that guy. Like if you're getting pushed around in the midfield a little bit, you throw in Basuma and let him bully it out until he gets that dangerous yellow card, and then
Yeah.
Højbjerg goes in and finesses it home, and vice versa.
No, I think that's
Sometimes
fair.
sometimes you're in there and you got the goal and you need to hold on to it. Then you throw in Basuma and like boss him around and let him get that yellow card at the tail end of the match. 75th minute, go in there and just keep him from getting any momentum. So yeah, I think that a healthy type of competition is perfect for you guys. Just me personally, I just really enjoy Basuma, and we obviously really wanted him. So, but now that we have Casemiro, and we'll see again, Casemiro is going to need some time to get into the squad. Just it is what it is. No matter how good they are outside, I mean, besides Holland, freak of nature, you're going to need some time. So
yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Yeah, no, I think it's a well leveled point about Højbjerg, and I love the guy personally, so we'll see. Last point on that match is, what is your guess on the monthly expense of baby oil purchases that Adama Traoré has to buy to oil up his arms as much as he does before he goes on the pitch? Because it's unreal.
Well, you know how we have that baby formula shortage over here in the U.S. I'm sure that's hitting the Portuguese or where's he from?
He's Spanish.
But where exactly is he from? I can't remember.
I don't know.
But wherever his hometown is, I'm sure that it's either named after him. There's a factory named after him, or like they're catching whales illegally and using whale oil or something, because that dude comes out gleaming.
Man.
Like, I mean, people are putting on shades up front, it's just
Dude.
like, and the little raincoats, even when it's not raining, because if it comes by, it's just like it's definitely like you're at Waterworld, Not
but like, does he have any self-awareness? Like when I was watching him, he gets on the sideline and it's like, oh, Traoré is going to come on, and then he literally just starts oiling up his arms, and it's like,
and he has someone help him do it too.
That's crazy.
It's just so opponents can't grab onto him.
I got to be honest. I would take him. At
Tottenham.
Yeah. He's just an interesting guy. Like, just to see him and bring him on as a sub and have him run at defenders as a wingback. Yeah. Fascinating.
I would bring him, but then I would just, he would, for a solid 2 months, would just have to work on finishing. Because he's amazing at, who reminds me of him is was St. Maximum from Newcastle.
He's like a slightly less strong version.
Yeah. And St. Max, like, he is just dominating. He's every time you think he's not going to do better, he comes out the next game, you're just like, no one can stop this guy. St. Max is just, and so Traoré is kind of like, I thought that was who he was going to be, but they kind of switched places in my head, if that makes sense. Like,
no, I can see that.
Like St. Maximum's a better all-round player, whereas Traoré, he's dangerous, and you like, do not let, he's like in Mighty Ducks, shooter, get him, like, but
he should have been a linebacker, man, or a running back. You throw that guy in the NFL.
He says he doesn't work out. Yeah, right. He says he seriously does not lift weights. I'm like, then what do you do? What are you doing in your in your downtime? There's got to be something. What if he's like a whittler? He's just at home with little pieces of wood. Yeah, he's like a knitter. Like, he's got to be doing something where he's working that, or maybe he has one of those deals like in Goonies, a little stretch on bands, like that brand has.
God, I would love to see him retire and start like an online course of like whittling and knitting, and just see this massive dude just like knitting
with Traoré, and it has really calming music, like lullaby in the background that you could, and then he just speaks in his Spanish accent.
That's going to be the name of the episode.
Sounds like Antonio Banderas, but
knitting with Traoré. I just picture him having a really high voice, actually. Like you see him like this
like a
butch
Michael
dude.
Jackson. What if he
Yeah, and
gets
just
on?
like, hey guys, it's Adama.
Yes, please sign me up. If this isn't real, like someone make this up. Make it
Knitting
a
with Traoré.
yeah.
That's the name of this episode.
Someone send that to SNL because they need to do that skit instantly. There's like, could you imagine what's his name? Keel or
Yeah.
Keenan?
Yeah. That
Have
would be
him play.
amazing.
It would be so good. Just super oiled up too. Just
Oh, that'd be
uh
amazing.
yeah.
All right, let's roll into some of the other results of the weekend. We're both pretty happy with our results, but let's talk a little bit about Team America.
Fuck
Leeds 3,
yeah.
Chelsea 0. I mean, I know last weekend I was like, Chelsea's a lot better than I realized. They really played us out of the park and we still got a draw. And then Leeds just threw it to them. I mean, Koulibaly, we were talking about how amazing he was. He was shit. He got 2 yellow cards. He couldn't hack it against some American Patriots. So what'd you think of
Team
that game?
America, fuck yeah.
I mean, Jesse Marsh, dude, come on. I think Christian Pulisic should go play for Jesse Marsh. Like, get all the Americans on Leeds before the World Cup. Throw them all
We're
over there
looking
so we
at
can play
Pulisic
together.
right now. We're looking at him. I mean, there was that rumor of the trade for Maguire. That would have been
Yeah.
amazing.
I don't
But
see him fitting in at United. Like, he needs to be the talisman. Put him in the
yeah,
lead.
yeah,
In the
yeah.
lead.
It's just like when we're talking about desperate. So we were putting a lot of people on the table to either fit in the winger spot or striker. It's just, with the Anthony deal going on, 100 mil, whatever. There was just a lot going on there. With Chelsea, it's odd because again we know how well Tuchel is, and they're kind of like and he's gonna take it to him, the squad after this, but they lost a lot of players, which a lot of
Yeah.
what people aren't thinking about. A lot of key players that they had just started cementing down a really solid squad, and then they sold half the back line, the depth, because they thought they were just going to spend all this money. And when you take apart that and then don't have people to fall back on, and you have Loftus-Cheek, who 2 seasons ago was at Fulham, or 2 or 3, whatever, was at Fulham, and now is in your starting lineup, which I love that for him. I thought he was always a flair player for me, but it just rattles it up and shows you, just like with Liverpool, that you lose a couple of key spots that do more than you think they do. Just because they're not scoring goals doesn't mean they're not doing work. Type spots.
Was Chelsea bad though, or was Leeds good?
I think it was just like how we came out, very similar, which I hate to compare us to Leeds because, the former rivalry, it's no longer one, unless
Sure.
but it's the energy they came out there with, and the fact that they knew that they're playing against a team that people are already putting in the top 4, and it's the third game, and was like, no, Chelsea is going to be up there and whatever Leeds, and you just go out there, you win every 50-50 ball. You bring super energy, you high five in everything. You're celebrating everything that gets in their head.
Oh, yeah.
You play those mental games too. And once you got the crowd moving with you, and that 12th player just like really chanting you on and being like, you got like the littlest things, and they're just, because did you hear Old Trafford was just rocking before the match, like first 2 minutes? And I haven't heard through the television. I haven't heard in person. But through the television, I haven't heard the Theater of Dreams like that in at least 5 years or something. Like it was huge, loud. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's
I think when you get that type of,
mentality.
yeah,
Mentality. I
I
mean, you
think
guys had it, right? You guys could have been depressed and all like, oh, we suck, we're the worst, and gotten slaughtered
0
by
out of 9,
Liverpool.
yeah.
But I think Leeds is a vibe right now. I mean, Jesse Marsh is a maniac on the touchline. I love Brendan Aronson coming in like, I wanted to go across the pond and show them that Americans can play with Europeans. Like, they've just got this like vibe going on, and it won't last the whole season, but they're playing some decent football. They look like a decent team. I mean, I think that they're a shoe-in to finish mid-table. They were close to relegation last couple of years. I mean, Bielsa got fired because of it. So, yeah, I was pretty happy about that result. Obviously,
it's definitely a trend too. I'm really, it works in our benefit as United States supporters, having these players coming over here, getting that experience, playing really well, starting for a lot of these big clubs, winning accolades, and then going and playing for the men's national team.
Awesome.
It helps immensely. And for them to go and show some of the other players too what they're learning, and some of the mentality that they have on across the pond, and bringing that back is I just think it's just high value, and it's going to make us do better in these bigger tournaments, because you're going to have like 4, 5, 6 players that are playing in Europe.
It's what Klinsmann tried to do but failed at doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm all for it. So yeah, Leeds. I know you guys got an old rivalry there, but as a bunch of gringos here, it's hard not to like what they're doing. Man City 3, Newcastle 3. Newcastle are quietly building a pretty decent, like, to me, they obviously have all the money in the world now. If you look at the way PSG tried to build a team, they were like, let's buy all the big names. Let's get Neymar, let's get Messi. Yeah, and it's not working, right? They haven't won a Champions League. Newcastle are buying, they just bought João Pedro, that Brazilian striker from Watford, who I think is excellent. They're buying a lot of smart players. Not that I think they're going to, be title contenders anytime soon, but they're actually frighteningly building in an intelligent way, not just buying names, buying players that fit. And I mean, they look pretty good. They just tied Man City, who we said was an unstoppable last week. So, I mean, what do you think about the Geordies?
I think that was a really fun game though to watch. Did you watch it, like the full thing? It was a really fun game. And to see them like just going ahead and getting in there is kind of like, they're gonna pull this off, and then
I thought they were gonna win it.
Yeah, you're like, but then it is City. And as much as being our neighbors that we dislike, our noisy neighbors, wait, they're not really that noisy because they don't have that many fans or history, or anyway, you know what I'm saying. That's why it's easier to think I'd rather, you'd rather have City win the league, if anybody, because it doesn't really
cheated.
It's kind of like you being a City fan. I just, you
empty existence.
Yeah, and they won it, like they can win it 50 times in a row, and people won't start screaming until that next team wins it. Like I said, if Tottenham won it, people would remember that way more than if City won it for like the 50th time, and they're like, breaking records.
Yeah, when Harry Kane was thinking about going there, like, okay, Harry Kane goes to City and they win a title. So what? If Harry Kane wins a title for Tottenham, they're gonna fucking name a borough after him and build a section of the stands and build a statue. Like it's the equivalent of like, you're on a night out and you work really hard and you finally pull this beautiful girl and you pull it off, and your buddy goes and buys a prostitute and he's like, oh yeah, we both got laid. No, it's not the same. Not the same at all. One takes work and one is completely different. And that's why City's erroneous to me. I mean, they've got some fun players to watch, of course, but like they just bought the league. It's not fair.
Yeah. When Alex Ferguson was on this path, you see the document. It's just, you see how much more excitement there was from everybody, even the people that hated it. They were just like, well, you hate to watch this, but this is something pretty spectacular.
Absolutely.
And you're watching Pep do it, and yeah, he gets a lot of, I don't even know how to describe, like he does.
He's a good manager.
He has respect. Oh yeah, it's undeniable. Because he's done it.
He did it with Barcelona too.
Yeah,
like in the correct way.
But it's harsh to look at it, and you're kind of like, will you go down as one of the greats though, if you don't win the Champions League with City?
I don't think he is in the same tier as like an Alex Ferguson for sure. I mean, even Klopp. I mean, the way Liverpool did it was way more organic. Like, yes, they spent a lot to bring in Van Dijk and Alisson when they needed those players, but they didn't just buy the best player every year like City has done it. So I mean, I think unless they win the Champions League, I think his reputation there will be tainted, and I don't think they will ever win a Champions League there. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no telling, and maybe this is the year, and Champions League hasn't even kicked off yet. So I guess we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, I don't think that people will remember City's long reign if they don't top it with the biggest accolade.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Let's touch on the last of the top 6, the most annoying game, in my opinion, is Arsenal 3, Bournemouth 0. I mean, Bournemouth aren't great, but man, Odegaard and Jesus, and I mean, I don't know, they're looking good. That Saliba central defender who's come in alongside of Ben White actually looks pretty decent too. What do you make of Arsenal? Are they pretenders? Are they just played some shitty teams? Or are they actually a viable top four candidate this year?
I can start off by saying if then any other Arsenal matches that I watch here on out, it will be on mute because I don't want to hear that Saliba chant ever again in my life. That the tequila one, Saliba.
Yeah, Saliba. So stupid. I mean, but that's what you
They
get
did it for
for
like an
Arsenal
hour
fans.
though. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine being an Arsenal fan and being in there and right behind you is just drunk out of their mind, just yelling in your ear, Saliba, Saliba. It's
But
like,
that's so
man,
classic Arsenal. That is the definition of like their songs. That's all
oh
I can think
god,
of.
yeah. But yeah, they do have a good squad. We'll see. It just like some teams that lose the first three games and go on to have a great season. It's the same thing, same kind of curse if you have an amazing start to the season. Because even during their was untouchable, the one undefeated season, they still had a lot of games where they were down, and they ended up tying. That's what people don't know. It's like you just only see their end result, like I was talking about. But yeah, they're playing well, and it's a really strong squad. And the thing is that he did it right by developing the youth. So now when they're adding all these players, you still have the youth integrated, sprinkled in between that team, and then and a good bench as well. But it is Arteta, it is Arsenal. They're probably yelling that they're going to win the league, which I hope they do, and just curse it. But if they
Uh, they
did,
they're not gonna
man,
win the league. Come on, that's crazy. They're not even gonna get top four. I think they fade out in 6 to 8 weeks. I think that they've got a good first 11, but they've got a very very shallow squad. I think they're not physical. I think a team like Tottenham will bully the shit out of them to the point where they, do something rash. I'm quietly confident that they're overconfident, but they have looked
agreed,
good. Credit where credit's due.
agreed, and I
Um,
really hope that they don't continue this form.
you and me both. So let's talk about next week. Let's do a couple predictions. Top six. You do Tottenham, I'll do United. So Tottenham, Nottingham Forest. What's the score?
I mean, Nottingham Forest are actually putting on a show as well. And with my ex player there, my homeboy
Jay
Jay
Lings.
Lings, he's not doing super magic yet, but I mean, he's playing a nice intricate part in the middle there where he's kind of gluing them together and making some good passes. So I think it'll be a tough little outing. Where's it at? Is it at White Hart Lane or?
I think we're playing there. I think it's away.
Oh, okay. Well, then that gives them another player
Yeah.
because that crowd right now is just being in the Premier League are just insane. Um, let's see. Let's see. I could see another draw. I could
Hmm.
see a 2-2. I could see Tottenham going up 2 right out the gate, and then Nottingham, uh, and then Forest fighting back and getting a couple, or it's a shocker, and they win in like the 93rd minute.
All right. Not really feeling that. Let's talk about Manchester Southampton. I think Manchester's riding a high. I think you guys will put in a couple goals. Southampton was decent playing them. They're actually a decent team. But I think that you guys are in a good space. I think you're gonna have that Casemiro energy coming in. I think it's gonna be 2-1 United. But it's gonna be a close game.
Yeah.
That's what I can see. So
Yeah. And if you guys, like I said, if you guys come out firing and don't give them that opportunity, and maybe this is a match where you get up those 2 goals and you put in Basuma, like I was chatting about, maybe you go on though for like a 4-0 run and put Forest, into a checked spot where they're like, oh, okay, now we know where we're at.
yeah, I think we're gonna see Arsenal draw Fulham. I actually think Fulham are decent right now.
They're on one. What's that
Yeah,
striker name? Martrovic or
Mitrovic.
Mitrovic? Yeah, that
Mitrovic.
guy, he's just put crossing T's, dotting I's, putting it in.
Yeah, he's legit. I think I would love to see Liverpool plays Bournemouth. Like a draw there
I mean,
would
Bournemouth
be.
Bournemouth need points too, so it's a precarious position to be in for Liverpool because you would kind of hope that like you're going against a bottom table team that has just won,
Yeah,
before you, because now they're going in there and Liverpool are like, we have to get a point, and
short of confidence and desperate.
you leave that back door open, and Bournemouth capitalizes, they could be soaring. But the same
Yeah,
with um Crystal Palace. I mean, Patrick Vieira is
Zaha's
doing
on
what?
one, man. He's
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
well.
yeah. So I mean, I could see that being an upset. Actually, I could
Yeah,
see Crystal Palace pulling that upset.
even Chelsea, Leicester, man. I mean, Leicester have been had a shitty
Oh
start to the
my
season,
gosh.
but
They actually just lost, right? In the tournament today, some sort of tournament. Who they played a
I think it was the Carabao
second
Cup or
division.
something. Yeah.
And they
I mean,
lost.
their best center back is potentially going to Chelsea, and so he's not even going to play the next match, apparently. Wesley Fofana.
Yeah, I heard Rogers actually on an interview today, and he straight up just said it. He was like, it's obvious that the player wants to go, and we're just trying to find the right deal. That's it. So he's going to go to Chelsea, either it be now
They're
or in
not good.
January.
Yeah, I
Oh
don't
no.
yeah, they're not like the Leicester of old. I don't think they're even going to be top six material, but Chelsea could still struggle. So, I mean, I like the fixtures for the rest of the top six in terms of, I think, United and Tottenham probably have the easiest fixtures this week, but I would
Yeah,
love
we
to see
say that.
some.
Don't jinx us. Go out there and get a fucking 6-0 slashing. On that note, though, where do you think James Madison's going to go next season?
So is he? I mean, there's been a lot of rumors. We were even linked with him. I don't know. I think Newcastle, to be honest. I think he would fit at Newcastle.
Be
They need that player and they
huge.
got the money.
They could do it in January. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
because this discussion's pretty much done. They said no because they didn't want to sell him, but with this start, I think he's like a new project where I can just be the star. Like, you kidding me? Like, when's the last time I got to walk out on a pitch and they did a whole welcome to me and the crowd's gonna go nuts?
Yeah, I think it would be a good move for him. I think it'd be a good signing for Newcastle. I could absolutely see it. I mean, some of these fringe England players, I wouldn't. I mean, it's too late. I almost wish he got a move to Newcastle so that he could, be closer to the England squad. But I also don't want Newcastle to be strengthened, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
say.
What about that link that you guys had though with that I mentioned with James?
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of truth to that, to be honest, but be interesting.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think he'd fit your guys' style really well because he just needs space to run. And I think you guys on the wing right there, if you and he would have to be an off the bench player, obviously.
He's not getting into our front three. He's not even getting in front of a Charleston. But I mean, I mean, as United, showed the world, a good winning team has depth. And that's something Tottenham's never had before. And bring them in, man. I don't care how much money we spend on all these backups. Bring them in. Give us a deep squad.
Yeah,
So I
agreed.
would be thrilled.
Well, I mean,
So
what a fun week for us in the Premier League, just because you guys are getting points and we're getting our first points against a massive rival. Imagine being beat by your biggest rival in the bottom of the table in the same
Ten
match.
Hag is 1 foot out the door if that had happened.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Well, that was a ton of fun.
Yep, week
Always
three,
fun
Prem
mixing it
Pals.
up. Yeah, of Prem Pals. We're already getting deep in here. So don't forget to join us. And if you're watching the YouTube channel, smash a like, subscribe, send it to your friends. I said all that good stuff. And if not, if you're just on the podcast, we'll give you something smooth and soothing to go off on. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
See you next week.
Peace.